My name is Sinan Jiddi. I'm the Executive Director of the Institute of Turkish Studies, and on behalf of myself and the Middle East Institute, I would like to welcome you back once again. We are on a very, very tight schedule, and some of you have been coming up to us, myself and Dr. Toll today, saying, well, this was so aptly timed. I assure you neither Dr. Toll or I had anything to do with the timing of these events, and we are very happy to have so many of you coming to participate. My job in this is minimal, so I will not keep you with me talking for very long. I would just like to introduce one person who is the moderator, Dr. Michael Wirtz, who is a senior fellow at the Center for American Progress and has very kindly agreed to moderate this panel. And he, just to briefly introduce him, he's at the Center for American Progress. His work as a member of the National Security Team focuses on the nexus of climate change, migration, and security in emerging democracies, especially Turkey, Mexico, and Brazil. He has been a senior transatlantic fellow at the German Marshall Fund, where his work focused on transatlantic foreign policy and the European Union. Dr. Wirtz has published numerous articles and several books dealing with a wide range of scholarly and policy issues, including race, ethnicity in the 20th century, Western social and intellectual history, and minorities in Europe and the United States. He is also currently an adjunct professor at Georgetown University's BMW Center for German and European Studies. Dr. Wirtz. Thank you.
Sinan, thank you very much for that opulent introduction, and congratulations for putting together such a great conference. We are going to talk about a number of issues right now that are at the forefront of debates within Turkey. And the country, as all of you know, is at an interesting conversion point. You have, to a certain degree, cumulative challenges or crises. There is the question about the setup of a presidential system and the future of the political structures in the country. There is obviously still the lingering conflict which has flared up recently with the Kurdish minority, and the fact that the Kurdish opening that Prime Minister Erdogan and the AKP engaged in early in their tenure has slowed down considerably. And there's also a lot of discussion about issues of freedom of expression and press freedom. And on top of that, encompassing all these debates, you have a vigorous discussion about the new Turkish constitution, which basically brings together all those debates. This is an interesting point in time because it is a situation where a government that has been elected with a stunning 50% victory after 10 years in power doesn't seem to be able to move as quickly as some of us would like it to see moving. At the same time, Turkey is still undergoing tremendous internal transformations. Turkey is one of the countries where you have rapidly rising middle classes, people not only making more money, but also looking for stability, rule of law, better education, and a voice, a political voice, to be part of a political discussion that affects them in individual and collective ways. So I'm very glad that we have a fantastic panel today to shed a little bit of light on all of these aspects of the ongoing internal discussions in Turkey, hopefully being able to bring them together and come up with a better notion of what is happening in Turkey today, and maybe even with some ideas or some suggestions as to where the country and Turkish society might be heading. Let me very briefly introduce our three panelists. I also refer you to the printed biographies. Mr. Ruzen Çakır will start our conversation. He's a journalist with the Turkish daily Vatan. He will talk about the presidential system and the political situation in the country. We will then have a statement by Michael Gunter. He's a professor at the Tennessee Technological University. He will focus on the perennial question of Kurdish minority rights and the current political situation. And then lastly, Levent Köker, a law school professor at Atılım University in Ankara, will wrap it up and talk about the constitutional debate that, as I mentioned before, brings together all these issues that are so important to understand what is happening in Turkey. Let me just finish this introduction by saying that often in the United States and in other countries, there's a lack of understanding the domestic transformations and the domestic dynamic in Turkey. And for that reason, if we want to get foreign policy right and the strategic US-Turkish partnership, which has the potential to become one of the top 3 or 4 or 5 partnerships for the United States. I think a meticulous and differentiated understanding of what is happening inside Turkey is important. And if it is only to make sure that we don't come up with short-sighted and abbreviated notions of Turkey going religious or shifting from one camp to the other, but thoroughly understanding that Turkish society is modernizing at a rapid pace, is driving developments that are not only fascinating but also potentially helping to transform the entire region, making Turkey not only an important regional player but also an anchor of stability and a good partner for the United States to work with. So without further ado, I would ask Rujen to please initiate our conversation.
Thank you. After having covered several conferences here in National Press Club as a journalist, for the first time in my life, I am here as a panelist. I am really very happy, and I'm really very much thanks to my friends in Middle East Institute. I know that when we are talking about Turkey these days, we want to talk first of all Syria and Kurdish question, etc. But friends from Middle East Institute asked me to talk about the presidential issue in Turkey. So I might be very softer than other questions, but I think that this information or this happening would be very useful in 2 years for everybody who is really interested in what's happening in Turkey. Because 2 years later, for the first time in Turkey's history, the President of the Republic will be elected by popular vote. There's a very big honor for the person who would be elected. The first President of the Republic elected by direct people. In today's perspective, we have 2 major candidates. First one is Abdullah Gül, who was elected as the president by the Turkish Grand National Assembly in 2007. And second one, Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, who succeeded Gül as the Prime Minister in 2003. Until now, he is Prime Minister for about 10 years or more than 9 years. Gül and Erdoğan regard each other not just as friends, but also as brothers. And their brotherhood began for many years ago. They started the reformist movement in Welfare Party in 1990s. And they worked side by side during the foundation of the Justice and Development Party, AK Party. They founded the party all together. Gül was the first prime minister of AK Party government because in 2002, October 2002, Recep Tayyip Erdoğan was banned by the Constitutional Court. He was not elected as deputy. But in 2003, he had the chance to be elected, and Gül gave the prime ministry to Tayyip Erdoğan, and he became the vice prime minister and minister of foreign relations. We should look at this 5 years of performance of Gül. He is president for 5 years, and generally people observe that he has not used his power to challenge the government, and they worked all together, President Gül and Prime Minister Tayyip Erdoğan, and the parliament dominated by the majority of AK Party. They really worked together, and we can observe that 100% harmony between these 2 apparatus, between these 2 persons. But more cautious observers like us, journalists, we can state that Gül tries to distance himself from the government, especially regarding the issues on fundamental rights and freedoms, especially press freedom issues that Senator McCain referred during his speech. This is a really very grave question of Turkey. Actually, as a journalist, I can witness that this is a very big problem. And in this problem, for example, we can see some differences, more than nuance, between Erdogan and Gül. The question is here that whether there is a problem between these two brothers, or there is a problem or concurrence between these two brothers. And don't forget that there is an analysis in Turkey since the first government of AK Party, that the question is, an alternative to AK Party would come out from within or not? Because all of the opposition parties and groups and persons are so weak that people are looking, foreign and inner people, are looking for an alternative to AK Party within this party itself. So when we know this, this equation, we can observe, we can discuss this relationship between Abdullah Gül and Tayyip Erdogan. And don't forget that Mr. Erdogan, he wanted to be elected as president in 2007, but he changed his idea and he proposed his brother Gül for this post in 2007. But we know that Tayyip Erdogan wants to be president of the Republic in Turkey. And this time, maybe the observers agreed that he really wants this time to be elected as president of the Republic. But more than this, he preferred a presidential system. He is not satisfied with this actual rights and responsibilities and authorities of the President of the Republic. He wants more. He wants to establish a presidential system. But according to the discussion, according to the debates inaugurated by Tayyip Erdogan himself, we can say that he is much more interested in semi-presidential system like in France than presidential system in the United States. And he proposed a new presidency for Turkey, that partisan president. Till now, in Turkey, all president of republic, they should have over political parties. And the engagement of a president of republic in Turkey is anti-constitutional. But Tayyip Erdogan wants to change this constitutional principle, and he wants to establish a kind of a semi-presidential system where this president would keep his or her relationship with his or her political party and control all of this executive body. But so many people within AK Party and plus Abdullah Gül, they are not agree with him. And there is a huge discussion within this party. About 1 year ago, when Tayyip Erdogan proposed the presidential system for discussion, for debating, and we had witnessed that Abdullah Gül and the actual number two of the AK Party, Bülent Arınç, they openly, publicly criticized this proposition. And at the second time, Tayyip Erdogan repeated this debate again, and we didn't hear yet from Abdullah Gül and Bülent Arınç yet their refusal, but we can estimate that they are not agree still with Tayyip Erdogan. So that another big question is this Tayyip Erdogan enthusiasm for a presidential or semi-presidential system, and an opposition within the party and from the President of Republic.